Wildflowers is one of the coziest, most wholesome games I've played in a very long time. I made a video on it back when it was first released in September of 2022, covering what it is and why you should be excited for it, but since then, a ton of new content has been added, and across the 75 plus hours that I've spent in the wonderful world of Fairhaven, I've gotten to see so much more of the game. Almost all of which I have thoroughly enjoyed, and the few aspects that I haven't been the biggest fan of have been and continue to be addressed with new updates. This video is sponsored by Studio Drydock, the developers of the game, but all I've been asked to do is provide my honest feedback on the game so far, and I plan to do just that. If you haven't seen my previous video and this is your first time hearing of the game, I highly encourage you to check it out. But having only had about 2 hours of playtime under my belt at the time, I felt like it was about time to gush over all the new stuff I've discovered, so please allow me to get to the gushing. First off, to address what will likely get brought up, yes, it does have a mobile game look and feel to it, and the controls are mobile friendly as well, but trust me when I say that it goes much deeper than any mobile game I've ever played. As I've said before, my favorite thing about this game is easily the villagers and the writing that goes along with them. They all have incredibly different personalities with backstories that make you want to get to know them. And they're not just surface level backstories either. The devs did not stray away from writing some heavier themes into this game. The death of loved ones, rocky marriages, substance abuse, blind career changes, parental disapproval of your spouse, the list goes on. But don't let that lead you to believe that this game won't have you laughing your booty off or smiling from ear to ear, because it will, or at least it did for me. I've personally been brought to tears multiple times from laughing so much. As I said though, I'm more than 75 hours in and I'm still learning more about everyone's past. It's kind of awesome, and the fact that you get to hear those stories through their amazingly voice-acted dialogue just makes it all that much better. It's not the annoying kind of dialogue though, where after passing by someone in town only twice, you're already sick and tired of them repeating the same thing over and over again. Not even close. With more or less daily chatting to each citizen of Fairhaven, you won't even hear a single line of repeat dialogue outside of giving gifts, unless you decide to progress the seasons at an unnaturally slow pace. And yes, you heard that correctly. Step aside, nature, because you get to decide when to progress the seasons. As a member of the Fairhaven Coven, comprised of your fellow magic-wielding citizens, you have full control over how quickly the seasons change. It's not your standard 4 weeks or 28 days per season timeline. Instead, quests and dialogue are tied to each season, so once you've finished up all of the quests in spring, for example, unless you decide to magically change the season to summer, and I do mean that literally, it will stay spring indefinitely, but you will start to hear repeat dialogue and run out of things to do if you choose to do that. For me, I've been playing through all the main quests, harvesting my last batch of season-specific crops, and then changing the season. And by doing that, I get next to 0 repeated lines of dialogue and have yet to run out of things to do. Once you've experienced all 4 seasons though, you don't even have to go through them again in a logical order if you so choose. Ever wished fall came after winter instead of before it? Do you love summer and wish it could stay summer forever, only taking a break from time to make room for fall? Well, in Wildflowers, those scenarios are both absolutely doable. Changing the seasons at will is something you can do, and not just to the season that normally comes next. Though not without a cost, but even still, it's one of the many magical elements of this game that makes it just so unique. And speaking of magic, it is everywhere in this game. At first, when I heard magic was going to be in the game, I thought it was going to be very minorly incorporated into the game, replacing fertilizer for your crops and things of the like, but no. Not only can it be used to make your crops grow faster or produce more upon harvest, but as we mentioned, it's used to turn the seasons, but also teleport via broom, turn yourself into a cat to navigate the island faster, boost your run speed, summon rain and or thunderstorms, grow and shrink your size, levitate, and so much more. Across the 58 unique potions and incantations, I've only unlocked 34 of them, and that's after 75 hours of gameplay, and only a few of which are available for purchase, meaning if you want to take advantage of these awesome gameplay effects, it's worth picking up every forageable item you come across, especially considering that your inventory capacity is unlimited. So, why not? The devs have also recently added the ability to go on dates, and not just while you're courting someone, as is fairly common in games of the genre, but even after you're married as well. In order to be able to marry someone, though, it takes a ton of talking to and gift giving in order to be able to woo someone. Thankfully, things exist like charming potions to make you more charismatic for the day, and crystal ball potions, which allow you to use your magical crystal ball to discover one of the 5 favorite gifts for any one of the 30 plus NPCs. And it's all worth it too, because you can actually choose to show your affection to your partner through a hug, a kiss, a caress of the face, or even a romantic boop on the snoot. Once a day, these actions will increase your relationship with your partner, but you're more than welcome to continue booping until your heart's content. They will also randomly decide to give you a gift or help out around the farm. In Wildflowers, you're not the only one looking for love, however. There are several sets of NPCs who will end up marrying each other. If you choose to accept, you can even help them with their wedding festivities through a series of quests, and can even attend their wedding, assuming you're invited, leaving with some delicious stamina-restoring wedding cake. After all, that's why you went in the first place, right? Either that, or to see all the snazzy-looking wedding outfits. And speaking of, back in February of this year, the Studio Dry Dock team finally added a long-awaited feature to the game, the ability to outfit your character, Terra, with different clothing options. And boy, did they add a lot of options. It's not just a character customization screen that they added, though. No. Instead, the local florist, Wylde, now runs a clothing boutique as well, allowing you to purchase designs that you can then craft yourself once you've built a sewing station in your tool shed. These outfits can be crafted from a variety of materials and colors, including cloth, thread, silk, and leather, all of which can be dyed using 7 different color dyes, some of which are more easily acquired than others. This clothing system added a much needed layer of depth to the crafting system, with some clothing materials requiring several steps to get there. Take red silk, for example. First, you need a mulberry tree, which when harvested drops mulberries and mulberry leaves. Those leaves are then fed to a silkworm, which you first had to purchase and then build a home for. After 3 days' time, the silkworm produces silk thread, which can then be spun into silk on a loom, and finally dyed at the dyeing bath, which uses red dye, which can be made at a mortar and pestle from a variety of red materials, like strawberries, clay, flowers, and more. It sounds like a lot of work listing it all out like that, but it's actually pretty satisfying to do, at least it is for me, and it makes it all that much more rewarding when you finally sew one of the over 120 different outfits. These are split up between casual, work, and formal outfits, and can even be paired with accessories that you craft yourself with the gold and silver as well as the gemstones that you bring back from the mines. Outfits can be swapped on the spot from your inventory, and since the game has no inventory capacity, you could technically cycle through all 120 in a single day if you really wanted, or more reasonably, a few per season. Heck, you could even roleplay with them if you wanted to. The world is your oyster. As is this leather jacket. No, not your oyster, but it is made out of fish, which is close enough for this awful segue. That's right. For those items that require leather to craft, if you don't feel comfortable selling your animals to the local butcher shop and then conveniently getting gifted some meat as well as animal hide the following day, you have the option to make any leather clothing outfits out of not only animal leather, but fish leather and mushroom leather as well. It's a really nice touch, not only because fish and mushrooms are a tad easier to come by than, barn animals, but also because, well, maybe you want to roleplay as yourself and you happen to be vegan, which, believe it or not, you could totally do, seeing as how they go so far as to label cooked dishes as vegan with a little green V in the corner, like this chai tea here, the one on the left having been made with milk from a cow, and the other with the V with soy milk extracted from a soybean grown on my very own farm. If that doesn't deserve a pinky out, I don't know what does. And lastly, as if it were made to showcase the 120 plus different outfits, they've also added a photo mode, which is oddly fun to mess around with, even if you're like me and don't even take a single photo with it. In this photo mode, Terra can pose in a variety of different positions, the camera can be panned around, and you can even zoom out and in. sometimes uncomfortably so. But still, the option's there if you want it. My favorite part, though, is it allows you to pan the camera to the side, allowing you to see what the island looks like from a completely different angle that you otherwise wouldn't ever see. Like, did you know the back of Tara's house actually doesn't exist? Well, all jokes aside, you can get some pretty cool angles and photos with this new mode, and even take photos with other NPCs, whether they're willing participants or not. And believe it or not, that's actually not it. Wildflowers is also just about to release another update on Friday, April 28th, 2023, entitled Fabulous Farming. With it, the farming and ranching aspects, as we know them, which honestly speaking are a little bit underwhelming, are getting some much needed TLC. So much TLC, in fact, that it deserves another separate video entirely. So, assuming you made it to the end of this video, you should absolutely go check that one out as well. And there's a lot of exciting new features, some of which I've been wanting since day one, and some of which might just happen to be able to fly. If you haven't picked up Wildflowers yet, but you plan to, I'll have a link to their Steam page down in the description, where it's currently sitting with just over 650 reviews and an overwhelmingly positive rating, which I can see why. I'll also have their socials down below as well if you want to learn more about the game. Thank you so much for watching, though, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. My name's DoctorDDub, and I do know I kind of went MIA for the past few months. I got a tad burnt out, but I'm hoping to get back into it, so wish me luck. Until next time, though, as always, take care.